What's going on, everyone, and welcome to the Trail Theory Podcast. I'm Brian.
I'm Alex.
I'm Austin.
And I'm Pfeiffer.
Hey, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Trail Theory Podcast. How are we doing tonight, guys?
Awesome.
Good. A little tired.
A little tired.
We're wonderful.
It's a late one tonight,
Yes.
but
It's not later than normal.
yeah.
Well, to start for the first episode,
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah, it's
We're only doing one tonight.
I know that you guys are listening to
Yeah.
this as soon as it launches at
Yeah.
12:01 a.m. Wednesday
Yeah, of
morning.
course.
But it's
all
like
million of you.
it's about 10 p.m. for us here tonight. So, but no, we're feeling good. Tonight's episode kind of came up not out of nowhere, but there was an article that Brian had shared with us in our little group chat, and it was from Outdoor Magazine, the
Outside magazine.
the online publication.
Yep.
Debating the comfort of toe socks versus regular socks.
Exactly. Yes,
not what
it
it
And
was-
we're going
it-
to talk about it for 5 hours.
And this is a 5
We're
hour
gonna really,
episode about toe
we're gonna
socks.
really hammer this out.
Yeah, right. No, it came out about a month ago, maybe a little less than a month ago. In regards to campfires, and it was an opinion piece, and the writer, their opinion is that we should ban all campfires, and
On public land.
on public land,
Yeah.
right? And so we thought that it would be a good idea to discuss this. Taking what the author has to say and some of the statistics that he brings to the table, and a little bit of research that we've done on our own to see, what the conclusion that we might come up with, or maybe we have more questions than answers at the end.
I think the
I'm gonna-
author is Madeline Carey.
Madeline Carey.
I think so.
I'm gonna
You think
guess.
so? Do you have the article up?
Yeah, it is.
Do you think it's Madeline?
Is it,
I
is it
think
not
so.
I'm
Madeline?
gonna guess it's Madeline.
That's
What did
that's
I say?
Madeline. She probably pronounces it Madeline.
Madeline.
yeah, it'd be like spelling the name Brian with a Y.
That's a weird thing to do.
That is a really strange.
That's
we
a
won't
weird
get
thing
For
to
into
those
do.
of you who don't know,
I'm convinced. I don't think we're all gonna agree on this.
Maybe not.
I'm
hold on.
very curious.
I think we'll have a lot of questions.
So I did do something interesting for this. Since I knew we were talking about this, I just was going to maybe reveal right now.
Oh no.
you have a Smokey the Bear shirt.
I was
on?
just gonna say.
You get know how to work your.
Look at that! Yeah, he's wearing for those the visibly
Okay.
impaired and those listening to
Let's
Spotify.
go.
All right, but I will say
He's got a Smokey the Bear shirt on.
my boy Smokey is more about prevention and
Yeah.
fire safety and
Yep.
the smarts around it.
Yeah.
Correct.
So I wish we don't have a pen and paper down here, but I wish we
I
could.
do.
Do you?
Yeah,
All right, we
right
need
there.
to write down what you're feeling now. Like, should they be banned? Should they not be banned?
That's what we're going
Okay.
to talk about the whole time, right?
Before though, just
And
so
see
we
if
can get
anyone
like an
changes their mind.
unbiased. Yeah.
See if anyone changes
Wait,
their mind.
Nah, I don't want to. I don't want to show my
I don't
hand.
know if I don't know if I'm going to change my mind, dude. Yeah.
All right.
So, all right,
I mean, I
honor
read the
system,
article.
Honor system. Everybody knows how they feel right now.
Yeah.
Right. Before talking about it.
Yeah, we know how we feel.
So
I mean,
we'll see what
all right.
happens as we get through it.
yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
So you can waffle on air. Yeah, it's fair.
I don't
We're
want.
talking fires, baby.
Listen, man, I don't believe in certainties. So even when we're done, I might not have my mind made up.
100%.
You know what I mean?
Austin and I are gonna
You
be
don't
throwing
believe in
punches back.
certainties.
But I'm
Ruh-roh.
so glad you're sitting all the
Dude,
way over
this
there.
is going to be a spicy episode
I gotta
for
find
sure.
some shit to throw. No, I don't think
Certainties.
it's going to be that bad. I honestly, I don't think
Yeah,
it's
I'm
going to be
excited
that
to talk
difficult.
about it.
I think there'll be good conversation, and I think it's a good argument to have, and that's why we wanted to bring it up and talk about it, on mic.
I wasn't prepared to argue. I think it would just be a nice dialogue. So
Speaking of fires, can we get this fire
Oh,
maple?
fire maple. Where you at?
Going?
yeah,
Let's
get
get a
that
lighter.
going.
Is that does it have some gas left in it?
we're gonna find.
We're gonna find out.
Oh, you're not even going to take it off. You're just going to let it. Oh, okay, you are. I was going to say. So if
Everyone
anyone
let her
doesn't,
rip.
for anyone that doesn't know, this thing is a fire maple lantern.
And it's beautiful.
It hooks right onto one of the
pretty it
little
is.
gas cans.
The folks
And,
that have been
it's pretty
listening
cool.
for a long time know exactly what this is.
Yeah.
Before we were,
You have a full-on blast right
That
now.
is
Jeez.
ripping. Fire
Man,
safety.
keep it
my
within
friend.
the glass there.
There
All
we go.
right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Before we were on
settle down.
before
Like
we
the
were on
fucking
video,
spaceship.
before we were on video, it was like the lights would be down. Now we got all the studio lights up, but it was
in the spirit of a fire episode. We should have some.
Might as well.
That's what I was thinking.
Some open flame.
And who knows? Maybe we'll kick it over on purpose and let the whole studio on fire and really bring it to home.
Just to prove a point.
I did soak the rug in lighter fluids.
Nobody make a spark.
The floor is lava.
Right? For real, dude.
Yeah, so
For
there's
real.
that.
All right. So how are we doing this?
Okay, so my thought was, so it's not a very long article. It's a strong article, but it's not long, and I think it's important. I think it's short enough that we can kind of go paragraph by paragraph and kind of like stop and take a moment to talk about,
to touch on some
because
of the
I think there's
points.
enough information in there during like a certain paragraph to like kind of discuss things. If you guys are cool with doing that,
Good. Yeah.
Okay,
That's
okay.
fair. Who's got who's
You
gonna
two,
narrate?
you two
I can,
have the article in front of you, right?
So it says in 2022 there was
Well, go with the title first.
well it's from outside and it's called "It's Time to Ban Campfires for Good." All right.
Yep.
And it says in 2022, 68,000, almost 69,000 wildfires in the United States burned 7.6 million acres, and ran the government up about 3.5 billion. That's a lot of money. 3.5 billion.
More than I have.
Yeah. And in 2023, our forests fared a little bit better. Nearly 56,000 fires burned, with 2.6 million acres destroyed. These fires continue to destroy communities. They kill firefighters and civilians, and are triggered by numerous forest and national park and BLM closures out west specifically. Wildfires, of course, has played a critical role in North America's ecosystem for thousands of years, but these days most of them are caused by humans. So, you know, we've had an episode that we talked about like kind of fire safety, right? And we kind of went through some of this stuff and we weighed pros and cons, and I think some of us were maybe on one side, some of us were on another side. I can't even remember where I stood.
I will say this. One big part about that conversation, which we had with Hair Force.
Right.
Our buddy Hair Force
Oh,
was
yeah, that's
here.
right. Yeah, he was here for that.
And one big discussion that we talked about then was like our initial feelings of having a fire.
Right.
Not necessarily. There was talk about, you know, whether
That's
we think it's
true.
appropriate or not. But
Right.
I think the main part of that topic that hit me the most was we talked about like the fire being the hearth,
Right.
the collective,
Yeah.
the joy.
and the
Brings you
primitive,
together.
you know, part of
we
being
talked about
outside.
being able to cook on it and stuff like that. There's a lot of stuff that went with that episode specifically. So it
I mean,
wasn't just
fire
about
is a
banning.
strong component to
It's core
a
to
trip, right?
us.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
went into so that episode is a good precursor to this one. So go back and listen to it. But this, I mean, well, you want to keep going before we?
Well, I mean, first of all, when you first read that, yes, it does look like doom and gloom.
Yeah.
Like the first paragraph looks like, well, yeah, of course,
a lot of fires and
there's
a lot of money.
a lot of fire, a lot of money. There's people being killed. There's civilians losing their homes. Yeah, that sounds awful, right? And you know, later in the article,
It doesn't
we'll
get
read,
much
but-
better, so keep reading, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it says modern wildfires reduce policies focus on two strategies: the forest thinning and prescribed burning. Right. We all know what that is, right? So
controlled burn to
control burns,
create limits where
exactly.
wildfires can't pass,
yeah,
and
and
then
it's very
forest thinning, yeah.
You know, the controlled fire thing is. I mean, they do a really good job with it. It's not willy nilly. It's not random. They're very
Right.
scientific and
Calculated.
calculated with it. You know, so yeah.
But it says, which even the Forest Service admits that it cannot be scaled to properly address the problem. So there's too much to do in the right way in order to fully scale and take care of, you know, a lightning strike or something like that, right?
Sure.
Efforts are underway to harden the communities and infrastructure to wildfire, the only proven way to reduce the structural losses. But little has been done to address the human ignorant problem.
so
ignition problem.
ignition problem.
Yeah.
Well, it's also ignorance, by the way.
Well, that's a factor. That's not what you wrote, though. That's not what you wrote.
Yeah. So the main part of that paragraph, it's talking about, you know, there are things that are being done on the other side, you know, to hope that, you know, when there is a wildfire, there's ways to reduce it as much as possible. You know, like it says, they're building robust infrastructures that hopefully like prevent it from going. But the main problem is, you know,
Human.
the human ignition.
So then she says, so I have a proposal. We should ban campfires, all of them.
It's such a strong...
That is a very
so
strong
strong.
statement.
There's no mincing words
No.
there. It's,
Right.
Yes.
So I have thoughts, and I don't know if we should wait till we. There's a decent amount left. I
Well,
mean,
hey, man.
but I have.
The can opener's here.
All right.
Crack it open.
So here's the deal, and one of the she mentions it here in the stats at the beginning, where the number of wildfires that were caused by humans or whatever. But the what's really interesting is that I think it's noble in its intent to say campfires like it, but without going further, that's kind of a very irresponsible thing to say. So the fact to attribute all of wildfires or a significant portion of them to campfires is just flat out wrong.
Well, they're not.
And to attribute even a significant portion of human caused ones to campfires is also wrong.
Well, they're not.
Well, she's not saying that, and she goes in to say that it's not just campfires that are causing the issue. It's off-roading for cars because
Yeah,
it's
it's
sparked
vehicles.
up.
Yeah.
It's people, lighting cigarettes on the trail
Yeah.
or putting cigarettes out and throwing them off their, out of their
Right.
car and
so
stuff
the,
like that.
the rest
So-
of the article, I think, it's the title of the headline of it, and that statement is a way to be like, that's a controversial thing to say. And then I know she broadens it a little bit, but so maybe we should get through the rest of it because
Well,
I think
she goes in to talk about that exact same thing. I mean,
Yeah.
there's some filler stuff in here too, talking about like, well, maybe we don't do it, the entire year. Maybe it's just during the dry seasons. Well, that's
they kind of already do that, though.
they kind of do that.
Like,
They
you see
limit that.
the arrow on
But
the
it's
green
not
or
a
on the
fully-
red.
It's not a full-on ban.
They already
Right.
do that, but again, part of what she talks about in the article, and we'll get to that point, is that a lot of times when those bans come into place, it's a little too late when it happens. Okay, they
After
realize
something
that it's
has
part of a
happened.
dry season. They go, "Oh, we got to stop the fires," and then the next day there's
Yeah.
like a massive wildfire. So what the proposal is that maybe swallow a little bit of our selfishness of wanting campfires by not doing it and have us prevent it.
So
Right.
she goes to say the Forest Service's current strategy resolves around two stages for restrictions. Stage 1 prohibits campfires outside developed campgrounds, smoking outside of developed campgrounds or vehicles, and driving a vehicle without properly functioning spark. What is that? Can't even see it.
spark arrestor.
Yep.
Yep.
Then comes stage 2, which bans all campfires, smoking outside the vehicle or building, fireworks, explosives, welding, driving an off-road
some of that
vehicle,
shit, like-
and nuanced limitations on daytime chainsaw use. You
Yeah.
may use a chainsaw at 3 a.m. First of all, I don't think you should use a chainsaw at 3 a.m., guys.
People are
I
sleeping.
think that
Yeah,
is
safety.
quiet time.
Safety.
One,
first.
that's quiet time. Two,
Yeah.
It's
you're
dark.
not
You
even
should
going to
be-
see the
right.
tree fall
You
on
should
you.
be nunite when that's going on.
No, but the point of her saying that is like, you're not allowed to use a chainsaw during the day because
Yeah.
they have certain spark, they can spark something.
Yeah.
So
Listen,
But what does she say? She says, if you're confused, you're not alone, right? It's confusing.
I mean, she says, I will
Yeah.
forgive the camping public for not having these committed to memory. But I feel like, though, if you leave no trace, which you should, I think if you're gonna if you're gonna go out to the backcountry, if you're gonna go camping, if you're gonna go out backpacking, if you're gonna go out and do heli skiing, whatever it's gonna be, you should know leave no trace. And almost everything we talk about when it comes to fire safety, leave no traces there. When it comes to not burning trash, leave no traces there. So I mean, like,
Right.
it always
I-
comes
I-
back to leave no trace. And if you know that, I think a lot of this stuff should be prevented.
I completely agree with you, Brian. I'll start by saying that. I will follow it up very quickly with saying, "Wow, you're giving people a lot of fucking credit. Like, you really think we didn't know leave no trace when we went out for the first time?
But I think, well,
Not to that level.
not to that level. But I think if you're really, say you go out for I get that's
It also, well, it
there's
depends.
a double-edged
It
sword.
also
I get
depends.
it.
man.
I get it, dude.
I was.
All right.
So we were just at the Grand Canyon. Like, and don't get me wrong, a lot of this shit is common sense, and that's what's frustrating
Right.
about it.
Yeah.
Right? When we were at the Grand Canyon, the campground across from us, the fire was flipping rolling.
So,
dude.
but
And,
here's a listen for
who thought that was okay to leave?
so, but common sense can be geographical. So
Totally.
we're in the east. It's wet.
I will say
It's-
that
it's always wet.
that the focus of this article, and they don't really say it until like literally the last word of the article, I think, is west.
Yeah.
This really is a focus on the west.
Right, but I mean, so someone, if we not knowing what we know, if we were just going like, oh, let's go outside for the first time ever, and we're going to go west, and that was the first thing we did, we'd be taking we grew up here where I can go out and have a fire in my backyard and not worry at all about an ember can fall on my. I had it.
Yeah,
it
but
happened
she's
yesterday.
talking about public
No,
lands.
I know. But still, I'm saying the risk of a fire here is effectively zero most of the time.
But I think
But if I were to take that mindset and be like, oh, I can have a fire in my yard and that's no problem, and I go west and I go to a campground, it's dry as shit. And
But-
it's like, oh, I don't need. I'm
But
not
let's
going to have
remember
those
this.
practices.
We were 1 week ago. We were in Pennsylvania, central
Yeah.
Pennsylvania, and one ember. That first campground we were at, all
Yeah.
that shit on the ground we were using to start the fire because it was quick burning and
Oh, I
fast
know.
and easy.
Dude, it was dry
One
for
ember,
sure.
dude, and the floor was lava. Like, dude, on fire.
He's not wrong. He's right about
I
that.
understand, and there. I mean,
If we take our
right.
common sense,
Pennsylvania
that's
always has like signs about high or medium risk of forest fires,
Yeah.
so they're not immune to this.
I'm
I
just
mean,
saying
obviously, the
where
effects
we're
is not the
growing,
same.
where we grew up here.
it's no
we're
different
not being.
than that.
It's not no different. It is. It is different. It's not no
Oh, it's
different.
definitely
Double
different.
negative. If we
Not a
grew
whole
up,
lot
if we grew
better.
up out west, I guarantee you, they're hearing a lot more about fire safety and fire prevention than we are
out west
when
sure.
we grow up.
Sure.
So if you're coming from our region and you get displaced and you're put over there and you don't have that preparation or you haven't lived through that at all, you're inherently more at risk of starting something because it's not malicious ignorance, but it's
Sure,
just
sure.
ignorant. You just don't know.
You,
Whereas people-
you lack the knowledge.
Right. So people who grew up in areas where it's very, very risky, just inherently more dangerous, should know better because they grew up there.
kinda
They should
preach it a little
should
bit.
know.
Well,
that
so
that's what's happening.
I
is that
agree.
part of the education process of it? Like, do you start doing that in schools? Do you start? I mean, like, should there be more videos about stuff like this? Should it be more
Smokey the Bear?
commercials and stuff like
Yeah,
that are more
Smokey
present?
is the
Like,
one.
I mean,
I just think that general, and I have noticed, I guess, but we're pretty clicked into or tuned into
Guess now.
the world of all this stuff, so it's easy to say we see it. But I do feel like I've seen a little more fire safety stuff, and I think that's helpful. But I just think if you're going to make a fire out in the woods, there should be like, I don't know, not to say like a license or whatever, but
There
you should
are
have,
licenses.
Okay,
like,
so
you should
I
have
almost-
a clue, man.
That is one thing that I kind of wrote down because I was like,
How do you regulate it?
Right, man. Do you make people go through like fire safety classes in order to like do it?
they
But
do that out west.
do they?
Yeah,
but
Brad
they don't.
said Brad said he had to get one, or he had to do a fire safety
for the
course and stuff like that
PCT.
for the PCT.
Oh, you're right. He did. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know. Move
yeah,
on. Do a
I-
little bit more because there's a couple points that come up soon that I want to talk about.
What, like
that are
the recent
interesting.
studies?
Yes, the recent studies.
So it says recent studies suggest that 89% of all wildfires are human caused. That number jumps to 97% for fires that are for threatened homes.
Okay, stop.
Okay.
So 89% of all forest fires are human caused.
Right.
97% of all forest fires that come close
That threaten
to homes
homes.
that threaten homes are caused by humans.
Right.
So
But I also think I know those numbers are staggering, and I tried to look up like, well, what percentage of the 89 to 97% that are human caused are caused by backpackers and
Having
campers
fires
having
in the
campfires
woods versus
the fireworks versus the
Right.
cigarette that someone throws out of their car versus someone off-roading and not having, spark arresters and stuff
Listen,
like
straight
that. Like,
up,
so
what is
we should just do
what is
away
that?
with fireworks,
Hold-
just in general. We can all agree
I
that
could
no
probably sign on.
neighborhood needs another firework. We
I
don't
could
need
sign on
another
for that.
phantom firework
yeah,
place,
I
right?
I can sign
honestly
up for
don't.
that, but
Don't
that's
do fireworks stuff
Let
myself
me-
either. But
let me-
fucking hate fireworks.
Dude, the older I,
I could-
get, the
I
more
could give it.
frustrating I find them.
So
I could give a shit.
nerdy of
I
me,
think
but like I hate
Same.
fireworks.
I think the
They're
only
loud,
reason
they're
I like
annoying.
fireworks is we used to Kaylee's aunt had a pontoon boat on Portage Lakes, and we used to go out on our pontoon boat for the 4th of July, and they would shoot them off on an island in the middle of the in the middle of the lake, and we would be able to watch them on the water.
Dude,
that was cool.
The Portage Lakes fireworks are unbelievable. I
That
saw
was
like
cool.
1 or 2 years, and they're the best.
That was cool.
yeah.
Being on the water watching it, that was fun
No,
because they're right there.
professional
Yeah, sure.
fireworks
Professional.
are one thing.
But yeah, I don't
like
But Jackass is
recreational
just like
fireworks.
shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude,
I don't think we need that
don't need
either.
to be doing that.
So-
why do you need to be doing that? No, you don't.
You
Let
don't.
me. I'm gonna
People hate their fingers.
I'm gonna offer
it's risky business, man.
offer some context. So if we dig a little bit deeper into the numbers than just saying 90% of fires or 89 or whatever it was are caused by
89.
humans. So let's say 89% of wildfires are caused by humans, right? That's only looking at volume of fires started. So there's a really interesting piece to this, which that is true. So that's true. I'm not arguing
Right.
that.
Well, that's good.
If you look at since 1983 or whatever, the number of fires per year has peaked and valleyed and whatever, but over the past 5 or even 10 years, it's the lowest it's been since 2000. So
Hell yeah, America.
it's actually trended down. That's just number of fires started, human or natural, doesn't matter. What's really interesting is acreage burned for those fires. So 90%, rounding up, of fires are caused by humans. The other 10%, let's just look just at lightning. Can't control lightning, right? Lightning represents 1% of all wildfires that are caused.
That's actually a lot lower than I thought it would have been.
Yeah, same.
I
But-
thought it would have been higher.
but-
I know where he's going with this.
How much
Tell us,
acreage?
Beef.
What's the proportion of acreage you think that
I
represents?
just lay it on me.
Of 1%?
More than 50%. 1% of the fires caused by lightning.
It covers more acreage
more than
than the
50%
rest.
Yeah,
of the total
combined.
loss of acreage.
Right.
So it takes, and there's something, and I'm really pissed because the graph I have is correct. I had another one at home. It's not here, but since 2000,
Head home, baby. We'll pause.
Since 2000, the worst year for human caused fires was 2006. I think it was like 80,000 fires caused or something. The number of fires, that's the worst it got, right? So
Shit's hot.
the acreage on the acreage lost on that one was in that year was like in the 7 million range of acres. Huge for humans.
yeah.
So
This is just in the U.S., right?
just in the U.S.
Yeah,
and
okay.
just for human cause. So
Yeah,
2006, 80,000 fires started, right? Now, the best year for lightning, or best year for natural causes, was not 2006. I forget the year that it was. But number of fires caused by lightning was significantly lower. And in the hundreds, I think. Like, it was very, very low. But exact same amount of acreage burned as in 2006 from all the human fires.
Okay.
So it took the worst possible human year to burn the number of acres that the best possible storm
Okay,
year
but don't you
did.
believe that the acreage would be limited if they were caused by humans because they're closer to civilization and easier to fight?
Yeah.
Maybe.
If a fight
In the middle of nowhere.
if lightning strikes in the middle
Yeah.
of nowhere and you can't get anywhere close to try to prevent that from getting smaller.
Well, and I think that's the point, right?
Right,
Like, and
maybe.
that's because it's hitting in areas
because we
where
talk about like the one number that talks about that threatens homes is 97%. Well, that's because humans are nearby homes
Exactly.
more,
And also
than maybe
if-
a
and-
random lightning
and
strike.
because human caused, like we're thinking campfires, we're thinking cigarette butts, but it's cars driving
Or
down the
burning
road,
trash
it's
in
building,
cars.
it's building
Yeah.
buildings, it's electric grids, it's transformers, it's power stations.
yeah,
it's
you ever see one of those suckers explode?
Right.
Yeah.
It's
Wham.
it's the fact that in areas we're building neighborhoods and clearing forest to then build right up against the border of
Right.
wilderness.
Right.
And then that wilderness is
Because everybody
right
wants
there.
that, but they don't want it that much. Yeah.
Right. So yes, the fires started by humans. One, we're right there anyway, so it's easier to snuff out, or they're just smaller in scale anyway.
Right.
So they're not going to
They
do
get
as much.
stopped by man-made things.
But the really interesting part is like when you talk about bans, and that's where I get heated on this, is to say let's ban a particular thing. You got to look at what the impact that's going to be. So even if we said that a full 50% of all the human caused fires in 2006 were campfires specifically, and I know she's not only talking about campfires,
Right.
but let's say it's a full 50% is intentional humans doing stupid things in the woods, right?
and we took all that away.
And you banned it, and everybody respected it, and everybody was amazing about it, and it went down to zero. You still would have lost 2.2 million acres in that year. Lightning would have blown it out of the water. There's nothing you can do about lightning other than prevention, trying to
Manage it. You gotta try and manage
you
it
can
and be
mitigate.
smart.
You can
Yeah.
mitigate as best you can. Maybe lessen the acreage, but you're not going to stop lightning.
No.
And you're also not going to stop people from having fires. That's the part
that's
that
the
I think is the
hard
hard part.
Like,
Yeah.
I will say that whenever we've gone to an area that's like no fires, we have
We play the game.
100% played the game. We've
Yeah.
100% respected that.
And I think most people
I
in the
think-
backpacking and the hiking community do.
you
You
Yeah.
have to.
Yeah, so interestingly enough, and I talked about this on our last trip a little bit. I don't know if you guys heard the conversation or not, but we when was it? I think we went to the Red, right? And this is not the last trip, but I'll get there. We went to the Red and we had a fire.
Yeah.
And we had a good fire. It was a really nice fire. And maybe not the best, but it was a good fire.
Oh, dude, we
And,
had the best fires the last trip.
We
Come
had
on,
very
stop.
good fires last trip. But I remember the one evening we had a fire. We were all we got to that point where we were kind of cached, right? And I remember kind of like saying, okay, we'll go to bed, right? And I remember Greg was like really adamant about putting it out.
Right.
And I remember thinking in my head, like, oh, it'll be fine. Like, and realistically, we were smart about it. It probably would have been fine.
Right.
But he was like really committed to put this thing out. He wanted to drown the hell out of it.
Technically, you need to drown the hell out of
Yeah.
it, and you need to be able to touch the coals
I'm
before you
I'm
go to
good
bed.
there.
Yeah.
And I think what I took away from that personally was, and every single trip since then, every fire I've ever had since then, even in the backyard, I've been really freaking mindful of it.
Yeah.
And it really opened my eyes. Not that I felt like I was ever not good about fires, but that was the turning point for me where it was like, damn, we really got to knock this thing down.
I've been really good about that, but because I had a coworker years ago who just had a bonfire in his backyard. And again, this is Northeast Ohio. This is not California. This is not, a dry area. He had a bonfire in his backyard. I think he said that he doused it with water, but I don't know if he checked entirely if it was totally out. And some embers went and burnt his shed down, raging fire, fire department out, raging. And ever since then, I've always been pretty careful about putting out fires and stuff like that, whether I was backpacking or at home.
Little spark, man.
Yeah, for sure. So
Well, and just like we were talking about, the difference is it being observed? Like a fire or embers that are just left alone and unattended. So I think that's one of the big pieces too. And in one of these I was reading, it's unattended fires. That's the problem. So even in a very dangerous area, if we were to go out and have a fire in a really dry spot, try to be as safe as we can. And just like we did when we were in PA last week, and we're with it the whole time. We're monitoring it. We're tending to it. We're keeping it contained. We have, a ring set up. We're doing all the right things. That in and of itself, is there a risk? Yeah. But
it's much lower.
It's much lower. If an ember were to go off and we were to see it hit the ground, what are we going to do?
And we've seen it.
We snuff it out. Whatever.
It happened.
Versus if we just lit that and it's it's low enough.
We good. We're gonna go just take a hike.
We're gonna go. Well, we're just gonna hike out. See ya. It's like that.
You never know.
That's where things get bad, and that's an education thing.
And that's
a
don't be
thing.
responsible.
That's a don't be a
Right.
dick thing.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. And just if you don't know,
Right.
how far putting it out is far enough, that's where the problems lie. Right.
I will say that she also goes in and talk about this also includes categories that are power lines starting fire, escaped prescribed burns getting out of hand and going crazy. And she also includes gender reveals as part
seriously?
of this.
That's not. She's not wrong.
I know she's not wrong.
It's crazy.
Can we just say if we do anything this episode, can we just all agree on that you should not be doing gender reveals that involve some kind of fire?
You could just tell people.
Don't.
no
Just
pyro-
hold on. No.
Because I've done gender reveals before, but we've never ever
No,
once thought
hold on.
to
We didn't
include
blow anything up.
fire or
Yeah.
No,
fireworks.
fire needs to be included for baking the cake that you cut into that
Yeah.
has blue or
Okay.
pink.
That's in the
Besides
house.
that, that's the limit.
God.
Leave the fire to the ring.
Have you ever
Yeah.
seen the one with
Why?
the lady? They're all there sitting there for the gender reveal, and they're about to tell everybody, and they're about to pop a balloon, but then the grandma pulls off her wig, and she has a blue wig, and she's like, "I thought you guys are taking forever."
I haven't seen that one. That's
so
funny.
It's the best gender
Oh my
reveal because
God.
she's just she's like, they're about to do it, and then she's like, boom! The grandma takes it off. It's a blue wig. She was so
That's funny.
I love it.
I like the ones where the fucking color just explodes on the wrong person.
Oh,
yeah.
I saw one of those earlier this week.
Yeah.
The one lady in the front row
Yeah.
is blue all over.
I saw that.
That's
too.
so
That's
good.
So good.
But like seriously, those people that do the gender
That's your
reveals
risk.
out there that like cause some
Yeah.
fires, like there's maybe we can try to pull it up, but there was one recently, or at least in the last year or so recently, where
This is so dumb.
they were prosecuted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Because
honestly, and that's the part that I come back to, and I'm glad you said that, because the more I think about, I mean, the gender reveal thing, do what you gotta do, like whatever, man. I'm just
You
we're just
don't
telling
need to
people,
include
but
fireworks or any fire for a gender reveal.
but I think for me, like, dude, if you start a fire, you should be prosecuted like a mother.
if it's
Like,
your
you-
fault, yeah,
yes.
absolutely.
Like if they can, and they can identify how
If
things
there was
happen.
negligence to it too, absolutely,
Yes.
dude. If there's
100%.
always gonna be an accident. Accidents
there's-
happen all the time.
Accidents are unavoidable.
But-
so there's arson, which has intent,
right.
So, and then there's negligence, which is what
Which
you're talking
people
about.
do that too.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
And so you got to be careful with this though, because then it's like when
Well, we're not saying people starting-
It's
Fi-
like
fi-
the difference between murder and manslaughter.
Right.
Yeah, listen, if you're starting a
kinda
fire,
right.
if you're starting a fire on a building, like you got bigger issues
Right,
than
so-
starting accidental
so
fires out in the
carve
woods.
out the arson piece because
Yeah,
but that requires intent.
You-
and that's
but-
different.
yeah, we're not. I don't
So
think we're
now-
talking about that.
Now it's the difference between how do you prove whether something was truly accidental or whether something was negligent to the point of being punishable, right?
And that's a fine line.
That's why we have a
that's
judge
fine
and jury.
line, right?
Right,
I don't
you'd have to be
disagree.
able to. You'd have to set a system up that can decipher between those two things, and
Yeah.
even negligence can be
An accident.
an accident.
Still. Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
that's
of
kind of what
course.
it is. That's kind of what it
The
actually
whole
is.
thing is
that's where
gray.
it's
So-
like, it's like they say, like ignorance of the law does not mean that you're innocent to the law, right?
Yeah.
So,
Right.
are there rules
And then you'd have to-
regulations in place to define what
you'd-
that negligence
yeah.
is?
You'd have to
because it
then
could just be like,
prosecute-
are you against Smokey or are you against like the state of California? Like, are you
Right.
just like not following what Smokey has to say, or is there actually something in place that says, hey, you can't,
Yeah.
flick your cigarettes out in the
Yeah,
That-
you know,
and
well,
I mean,
but
you'd
that's
have
also
to-
like littering and all. Like that to me, like, dude, keep ash those in your car. If you're gonna smoke in your car, don't throw that shit in the. I mean, how many times have you seen like a spark on the ground from one of those in front of you?
oh, yeah, dude,
and
all
you're
the
like,
time.
whoa, shit! Like, I mean,
I always
I don't
flip
know.
that
It's,
person off.
again,
Like,
it's
come on, man.
It's the don't be a dick.
Yeah.
It's just
Leave
like,
no
so
trace,
much, So
man.
much of this can just be boiled down
Always
to
comes back to leave no
Leave no
trace.
trace.
So
I don't
much-
need your litter in
right.
my street.
So much of it can not just in the woods, just everywhere.
somewhat.
So much of it can be boiled down to just people should do better. And I think
in most
that's
places.
that's where like
Dude, cigarette butts do not need to be on the street.
No, of course not.
Yeah.
I'm not arguing that. I'm talking about his, just leave no trace. I think that you're right. I think where we'll get to eventually, and we'll talk a little bit more and get through this article. I think that it's a gray area for some places.
Yeah.
Because I think
Yeah.
that a widespread ban on campfires,
Ain't gonna happen.
that's not.
I think it'd be wrong.
Realistic.
I think it's not just unrealistic and like it wouldn't work. I think trying to do it would be wrong.
Yeah.
Like
I don't know
it's-
how
it's a-
they would actually do it though. Like you would have to
They-
hire
they
so
couldn't.
many more
couldn't.
They couldn't.
people.
Well, they
Yeah.
do it in certain places.
I mean, listen, think about this. We were just out in the woods.
Didn't
for
see
a week.
one f***ing person.
We saw nobody. Like,
Yes,
dude,
yes,
we could have
yes.
had fires all weekend and nobody would have known.
Yes,
But
of
if we-
course. But like,
Yeah.
but people, a lot of backpackers and hikers are rule followers.
Oh,
Not all of them.
But I'm not saying
You followed the rules, did you not?
we did, and
Oh,
we were
yeah.
very good about
Yeah.
putting them out. But I'm saying that if we were not good about it, we could have still done the same thing and no one would have known.
But you
right. But I mean,
But
that's,
we were,
that's
and that's
true
fine.
with
Hey,
that's,
I'm sleeping well, knowing
Yeah.
my conscience is clear with the fires.
that's true with any ban on anything. I mean,
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, it's like, well, heroin's illegal. Guess what? It still exists.
and it's still it's still like
still a
a
thing.
United
Yeah.
States
Right.
problem.
But I
Yeah.
mean, it comes down to like in Adirondacks when we were there. There's no fires there. We followed it. Yes, technically, someone could go out and be like, "I don't care about the rule. I'm going to do it."
Yeah, I'm gonna
and no
have
one's
this.
ever going to find out. And
Well,
whatever.
I think that's probably one space or
might
place
find
that they
out.
might find
That's
out because
probably
they
true.
had a lot of park
Yeah,
rangers
they got a
there.
lot of
They
rangers.
had a-
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. Like you would have to put up so much infrastructure for a specific area and put up tons of rangers.
Brian,
That's
there's no- it's not
there's
possible.
no
Well,
way that
but
you
that's
can do
not.
it.
But you're missing the point.
When you do the ban like that, you're not out there to catch people.
right.
It's to just
Deter more of it.
Yes.
deter more.
So
of it
let's
as much as
pretend.
possible.
Let's pretend every park was like Adirondacks, and they're not out there, not writing you tickets necessarily, or like patrol. They're not walking. It's like, well, a ranger has to go with you to make sure you don't light a fire. It's just a ban. Let's pretend every park in the country. My argument is, yeah, you could do that. I think it's wrong. I think it's actually a damage to like the community, the hiking community, and backpack. I think it's damage to just humans in general.
I think it
it's
also
bad.
punishes people who do it the right way,
Right, exactly.
which sucks. I mean, we know for sure. I'm thinking about the conversation we had about the enchantments, right?
Yeah.
They literally do not have enough staff to maintain these trails. Like, how many trails are there? Like, think about that. Think about how many. Like, there's national forests, there's national parks, there's all these places,
Right.
and there's no way for they would never be able to police it. But I think the argument, and this is a fair argument, and this is something I think about. I agree with you, Pfeiffer. I just don't think it's possible,
Right.
first and foremost. But and the infrastructure isn't there, so I think we probably all agree on that. But let's say they did make a ban, right?
Yeah.
And they banned all fire within all parks, right? If 25% of the people that went out followed that, it would be 25% better. Conceivably. I'm not saying that the lightning and the other accidents wouldn't occur. I'm not saying it's a perfect system.
But then you got to measure.
But if you got 1%
I don't think 25%. Those 25% people are the ones that are the worry, though.
the
It's
rule
others that aren't
followers
doing
that would be that 25%.
They're the
wouldn't
ones
be
not creating
that they're
the
worried
fires,
about.
though.
Right, exactly.
Here,
So you're-
this is. I feel like we're jumping to the end kind of quick.
I mean,
we
we're
haven't,
almost
like,
at the
really
end,
finished.
anyways. There's not really a whole lot of
Okay.
other stuff in the article that other than just she goes.
I
and
could
talks
go another
about,
30 minutes on just that topic.
Well,
what
we
Alex
can't.
just
We
said
can't.
right now.
We can't. Yeah, I don't know. I think that a widespread ban is not appropriate and not, enforceable in any way. What I believe is, and I think it's more seasonal. I think it's location specific, and I think that as much as I would want people to be respectful, because like I would love if it like what she says at the end of the article is she says, let's not wait for our government to fix the problem. Let us take the responsibility and stop the campfires now, right?
You can simply leave your firewood and axe at home the next time you head out.
In the perfect world, I think that's almost the thing that you can do with every law, right? It's just like, it rely on people to have the goodness of their heart to not go out and do something.
Yeah.
But I
would add a piece to it though, which is what we should be doing already, which is what we're talking about, is just be responsible. So if we're going somewhere and we know the risk is higher, that should be a choice that we make.
But I disagree. If it is of the highest risks during the highest risk season,
I think you make the choice. You just don't do the fire.
Yes,
if it's in the red on that slide,
we would make the choice.
We would absolutely make.
Yeah.
But we are educated.
Right.
And we have a history and we have experience and all
we
those
have
things.
a podcast.
And we have a podcast and we practice make no
experts.
trace, right? We can't expect everybody to know
we can.
all these things.
Not everyone's going
Not
to
everyone
follow
to
the
know.
rule.
No, not everyone to know. I thought you said we can't expect it to do. I think you can have a reasonable expectation that people who are making a decision to go out into a park should learn up what the expected behavior is before they do it.
Dude, we've seen way too many
That's the
morons,
benefit of that.
Hold on.
Torons of Yosemite.
You're
to
misinterpreting what I said. I said we should expect that. Do people do it? People are not always going to do what you
I
expect.
think you can hope for that.
No, I think hold humanity accountable. We should expect people to do good, to be good people.
I don't disagree.
Everyone's not going to do it.
Did any
but
of you
it
guys
should be
take
an
a picture of
expectation.
the sign on the trailhead last week? I'm wondering, did they put?
Did it say
anything-
do whatever the you want?
I'm truly wondering. I'm talking about the education. I truly think I agree with Austin. I don't think you can ban it. I think you can limit things based on your area. I think that there needs to be more education about it, and more literature and more videos promoting it and commercials on TV and even teach the kids when they're in school about stuff.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Like make it part of the fun curriculum thing where it's like here, like we're gonna learn about fire safety. We're gonna do campfires and all that.
And they
But,
do
like,
some of that, like
Right.
with fire safety,
but
but,
like
it's a little different.
I don't remember seeing anything specifically about campfires or anything like that at the trailhead when we were.
I didn't look
at Black
closely enough,
Forest
but
last
when we
week.
were driving in,
remember
we
it.
did see the signs with
We
the
did.
rating.
We did.
did,
And it was in the
which is-
green, which
right.
is fine.
Pennsylvania's good for that.
Yeah.
That was
I-
only
I will
because
say-
Virginia's another state
was
out
only-
here that does that as
That
well.
was
will
only because
say-
we passed a firehouse, though.
Right.
Another side
they
of
have them
the,
pretty
uh,
often in Pennsylvania.
Another side of the coin too, and I think this is, I mean, we're doing it now, which is good, but it's like you should, and we should feel obligated, and I think we may have talked about this earlier on in an episode, maybe like in one of the first like 5 episodes or whatever. And maybe in the past we wouldn't have had the feeling to go tell something to someone. But I would say if we saw someone being ridiculous or doing something inappropriate
At
or
this point,
unsafe,
we'd
we
say
would
it.
go say something. And I think that's part of
Beat some ass.
if 50% of hikers, backpackers, campers, whatever went, and if they saw someone being irresponsible with fire, making it too big, being ridiculous, whatever, like I feel like it's kind of, you talk about like it being our duty to, you know, leave the axe at home and whatever. I think it's more of a duty to go to those people and say, hey, you guys are being a little ridiculous.
And
right
here's
now.
and that touches on something that I want to hit on, because it's the banning of anything is inherently reactive to a problem that you don't know what else to do about. Like that's a response of like,
very
get rid of it.
it's very
right?
passive
It's like,
aggressive.
I agree.
And a
I
lot of
agree.
that is like throw the baby out with the bathwater, because what are you losing? Like, yes, we might see some marked net decrease in overall acreage lost if we were to do a ban of some kind. But
If they did,
what,
yeah, it
what
would.
what's
You
your
would think.
what's the ROI on that? Like, you're losing a lot of enjoyment, a lot of reasons why people do things.
But that's not a tangible thing you could hold on to.
doesn't have to be tangible. It's still
and
loss.
compare with lost acreage. Oh, happy feelings versus lost acreage.
No,
lost.
he's right.
You can't
Yeah.
really put that. That's
you,
not.
yeah, you can.
Not
You-
really,
You, can't
because-
you may not be able to quantify it.
because
You
it's
can
not
recognize
just,
it as
it's not just
as
the
taking
lost
away
acreage.
from something.
It's a lost life. It's someone losing their home.
Potentially,
So like,
yes.
if I had to make the decision of, okay, I can have a campfire and I can cook my Chipotle burrito and I can cook the steak that we did on the campfire, I can do that. Or there's a chance that because we're in a really hot time or dry time or whatever, that I can literally kill somebody. Or I could ruin
that's not the
someone's
argument.
home. But like,
You got to
it's
no, no, no,
absolutely part of it.
You
It's
have to
part
take
of it.
you have to take the hot dry caveat out of it. This is a full on across the board gone.
I understand that, but I'm just saying, like, I would,
Because there's already
you
there's
would-
already a ban on fires in hot dry places.
but you would make,
that already exists.
but I think there are people that aren't
Following that.
actually
Yeah,
following
yeah,
that.
of course,
No,
but
no,
that's
no,
gonna
of
exist
course,
anyway.
Brian, but we're
I know.
talking about like
I know.
what she's talking and imposing as a full time.
Right.
I'm just saying, if there was
You're
a
never
question
gonna
of
get-
that, you just wouldn't do it. So like the happy feeling that you get because I'm cooking my
that's
Chipotle burrito on the fire, it's not worth someone's life, and it's not
but
worth
that's
someone's home.
That's a false equivalence, dude. It
don't know
doesn't
about
it doesn't
that.
work that way. So first off, your description is already banned. You're already not allowed to do it. Guess
what you're
People do it anyway.
describing already exists.
So
I know.
So people do it anyway. So what, banning the rest of it? What would that do? It have zero impact, because the people who are starting fires in dry, hot places
Where they're not supposed
where they're
to.
already not allowed to do it.
Are the rule breakers.
You think they're going to stop doing it just because the rest of us
Are
were
we?
banned?
Are we?
in wet spots?
Hold on though. Hold on.
everywhere across the board?
Are we-
No, they're not.
Hold on. Are we sure? Are we sure that all those dry places, public lands out west are actually banning campfires?
No, but you can see the signs. I mean,
If
there's
it's in the
if
red-
you go
No,
into
I
parks.
understand, but are we sure? Because like, if that was already the case, then why would she imply that that's what we should be doing?
I don't think they're banned. I think that there's a no burn.
I've
period.
seen
There's
I've
a
seen
law,
signs
there's a
with no
rule
fires.
that says
Okay,
you
so no
cannot,
fires.
if it's in the red or if it's after
Yeah.
a certain point, there's rules that
Yes,
say
but
you
there's
cannot.
engaged.
Yes, but that's
do
what we
that.
talked
And
about.
they're everywhere.
In the article, she talks about there are things in place.
Yeah.
Yes.
But many times they're often too little and too late, because when those
So-
bans come into place, people are already out there. They've already had their plans. They're already
So,
out there in
okay.
the weekend. They're already started fires, all that kind of
But
stuff.
so what's the answer? What would getting rid of it complete? Why are we not investing more into doing that better? The process of
No, I agree.
You know,
making sure people know.
I think that you're right.
They-
All four of us
it
have
should
agreed.
be maybe they can recognize it sooner. Maybe we can invest in, how do we identify when it's going to be risky faster? It's like
Not even.
it's Doppler,
Not even.
dude. It's
Not
like how
even.
do we predict weather
I mean,
patterns.
this is, in my honest opinion, this is what I think, because we've all agreed that an overall ban everywhere doesn't make any sense.
Right.
I believe that during the wetter seasons, it doesn't make any sense.
Right.
But in those drier places where they have the potential to be drier, do a 6-month ban on campfires. Do an 8-month ban, however long the dry season is. Why do we have to wait until it's too dry to say, hey, no more of that?
Just during these periods, during these months.
That
already exists.
That
that
gets
can be
rid of the
specific-
gray area.
Right, and that can be specific. Each state can do their own thing, or each park can do their own thing. We're basically arguing federalism right now. It's like where you are matters.
No.
But that
So
also
it's
kind
like,
of already
you know.
exists. Like I've seen the signs.
Right.
Like everywhere out there, the signs they're fucking everywhere. Like
But
if you miss them, it's like
Ignorance, then.
you see them.
Yeah, and it could be willful ignorance, which
There
is
is billboards.
borderline negligence.
Right.
But again, that's no ban in the world is going to get rid of negligence or willful ignorance. It's just not
we're
gonna
not
happen.
talking about that.
No. I'm just
Right?
we're reiterating. But what's interesting here is she goes on to say like there's lots of other human causes outside of just campfires that she's including in this, and that's where it gets really interesting because where's the line then? Like, how do you ban transformers blowing up? That's human caused.
You don't.
Yeah, you
But
can't.
it's talking about taking the personal responsibility of not doing a campfire, even though it is enjoyable to do.
Yes.
Is putting the responsibility on yourself. And listen, I'm not. If I go to a place out east and I feel like it's not dry and there's no ban on campfires, I'm gonna have a campfire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if I feel like I'm in a place that's dangerous, whether they have banned it or not at that time,
you're
I'm
gonna
not
make the
going to have a
decision to
campfire.
Think twice about it.
Yeah.
I'm going to think twice about it because of the, I'm putting the responsibility on my shoulders and
but
thinking about
I will say,
what
I
could
wanna-
possibly happen
I wanna-
if I make a mistake.
I want to clarify at least my interpretation of the article all the way through to the end. I think the author is being a little more hardline than your interpretation.
Oh,
right
she's
there.
definitely hard.
Where
line.
she's
no,
saying-
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like she's saying, even in your scenario where you would say, "Oh, it's going to be wet. I trust myself to go out and do it safely." She's saying, "No, don't trust yourself.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
bring it.
Right.
Don't do it." And that I can't agree.
I also, and this is a weird take, but I also think that there's a possibility, and she didn't clarify in this article, that she might be only talking about the West. And I'm so sorry, but I feel like there's a lot of outdoor media that fucking forgets that there's an East Coast of the United
I know.
States.
and a lot of really great
And a lot
hiking
of
around.
really good,
hiking.
good places out here to hike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't you
So-
feel that?
A little
Sometimes,
bit.
yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Even in,
it's
like, the
because we
pictures,
don't have
it's
the
like-
huge peaks and the
Yeah.
huge summits and stuff like that. And there's still a ton of awesome backpacking out here. Now, that could be a whole nother episode.
That's a whole other
That's it.
West Coast elitism media.
But I think
East Coast too, god damn it.
so.
No, stay away.
I
There's
think
not an
we're-
East Coast. There's no good
Right,
hiking
no.
here.
Yeah, stay out there.
Stay the hell away. Don't come here.
I think we're all
It's our gem.
Right coast.
I think right coast. I think we're
Right coast. That's a sticker.
Right, got the T-shirt.
I think we're
I love that.
I think we're kind of saying at least similar things. We're on the same side of the spectrum. I think.
Yeah.
I think maybe we don't, but maybe we all agree. We
Don't
can
be a
confirm or deny
dumbass.
this. Well, yeah, but with the author at least, I think it's a little over the top in terms of like you shouldn't expect everyone to just.
But it's an opinion piece.
It is opinion.
Right.
And it's
So-
fine. Yeah, she's not out there like legislating this or whatever. But I think the date I'm curious if the author or to what extent like people who think there should be campfire bans have really dug into the numbers behind everything, because it's really, yes, you can. I could ban blue jeans and there would be a net positive impact in some way to somebody on banning blue jeans.
Yeah, all the Chino
There's
people.
there's always going to be
They get more
some
money.
There's always going to be some positive impact of taking something away from somebody. Always. You could name any product.
I'd be pretty hurt.
But what are you going to lose? And it's like that has to factor into the equation of, are you gaining more than you're losing? And in this case, like, fires are bad. Losing acreage and it's risky, it's dangerous. And
Yeah, those
but-
outcomes have been bad.
Yes.
Period. We can all agree on that.
But
course.
it's one of those situations where the absolute most, even if we pulled ourselves out and turned off our electric grid and said we're doing nothing but just living in the dark forever,
Right.
the Earth
wouldn't
is
that be
still
awesome?
going to burn itself.
Oh yeah, it's
Like,
natural.
of course,
And,
yeah,
and
yeah.
there's only so much we as humans, we're so arrogant to think that we can just like make everything better just by changing
yeah,
how we behave.
can,
And that's
we'll,
not
hey, we'll handle
right.
this.
It's
yeah.
not. It doesn't work that way all the
Yeah.
time. So we kind of
And part of the earth has to burn.
yeah.
Oh yeah,
It's part of
Right,
it's nature.
right.
We've
It's supposed
decided to live in some of those places
that want to burn.
and that's risky.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's risky.
So
but,
that's part of the prevention piece. Maybe
yeah.
we shouldn't be doing like as much of that. Maybe we should leave nature and give it its space and kind of be more proactive, more preventative, and more cautious in that sense. And instead of just saying, "Don't do a thing," it's like maybe we should do certain things better.
Well, but I think that's also an argument for preservation.
yeah, exactly
Right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It definitely is. Like, stay away from those places. Let's protect it. That's why
Yeah.
some of the national parks or the public lands or BLM
Yeah.
land is so important.
And it's tough because it's beautiful and we want to harness that and we want to enjoy it.
Right.
But again, pros
Be
cons.
be
It's gonna
responsible,
make
right?
the wild
it
wild
comes with
still.
like
keep the wild wild.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's an expectation of going out into those areas, right? And I would also, I mean, it'd probably contend that the people going to some of those more wild areas are the people that kind of know. It's
Right.
not, they're not the most
Right.
egregious like offenders of this situation. It's the people that are like, popping M80s in a fire, at their little campground,
And that's
their local
that's Austin's
campground,
comment that I would agree with. Like,
where
there's
it's
certain
ridiculous.
things
Like,
I'm never
like, what are you doing?
I'm very rarely on the side of like just get rid of stuff, but the and
don't- we
even
can-
with
we
even
don't
with
need
fireworks,
fireworks.
even with fireworks, maybe not full go like complete, but there's got to be something. It's too easy to be an idiot. with fireworks.
Okay, so Ohio specifically, they were illegal for a while,
They
right?
were illegal and now they're legal.
And now they're legal.
even the
Okay.
big ones, I thought only up to a certain only up to a certain
Dude,
point. I thought
we've
because
got-
I used to have to,
Shit, growing
drive
up, we
across.
didn't have the things. We
Yeah.
got gambling, we got fireworks, we got weed, we got everything now.
Yeah, man, you can do anything.
I remember
it is the
free-for-all
Wild
now.
West.
I remember for 4th of July in
Wild
like,
East.
in high school and stuff,
The
we'd have to
Wild East.
drive.
It was illegal to purchase fireworks.
But you could drive
No,
2
I'm
hours
sorry.
away and then just bring it back.
I think it
You
was
could get it
drive to
like July
Pennsylvania.
4th weekend.
I think it was
Yeah.
legal to buy fireworks, but it was illegal to set them off. There was some weird thing.
That might even be
There was
still
some weird
the case.
thing that happened like that. It's
probably
like,
is.
you can buy them, but don't you dare f***ing set them off.
Yeah,
Don't
dude.
you use them?
It's like June 4th and people are getting warmed up.
Yeah.
You hear them in the summer. It's like, really, motherfucker?
Like, dude, it's like
Yeah,
a 2 week
grip,
long
man.
thing. Oh, it must
Like,
be.
why?
Yeah.
Dogs going
What's
crazy
best
and
is just
crying.
the random like either the holidays that you wouldn't expect fireworks and
Yeah.
you just hear them for
Yeah.
no reason.
Oh, yeah, you're like,
or
oh,
just a random Tuesday.
Why are
And
they
it's
Veterans
like,
Day.
Yeah,
Valentine's Day? Come on, guys. It's February.
Valentine's Day. You know what there shouldn't be a ban on? Novelty golf socks. For you
Whoa.
video viewers,
Look at that,
buddy.
Mr. Pfeiffer's got some
I'm
beautiful
decked out today.
golf socks.
with those?
Yeah, buddy.
What do you get a free
A
bowl?
box of big lady
It'll look
tees,
good
a
on
box
you,
of
though.
orange balls.
Looks good on you though. Anyway.
Wang, it's
Oh
a
my
parking lot.
God, dude. I think at the end of the day, I think there needs to be more education about stuff.
Yeah.
Not a full-on ban. Let's not go extreme on stuff.
Let's
but I
spend the
think,
last couple minutes doing that. So what
Yeah.
like there are a lot of programs, especially out when it's where it's more risky. There is education, there's smoky, there's all sort like what do we think outside of a ban or outside of like more restriction on what people are doing? What could we do better?
I have an idea, and it just came to me, but I mean, maybe this is dumb, but when you buy, you can't go to the drugstore nowadays and there's certain things you can't buy, like I don't know,
Or Sudafed, where you couldn't
yeah,
buy
like
Robitussin?
there's
yeah.
certain things where it's like this is ridiculous that I can't buy this.
because
without-
people make crystal meth with it.
Correct, Brian. But people make campfires
Yeah.
and burn down
You're
forests,
right.
right?
Right.
So
You're right.
again, we're comparing. I'm not making this the
The same.
parallel here.
Right,
They're not
right,
the same
right,
thing.
right.
But I guess my point is, like, if you're buying, like, if you maybe REI or maybe some of these stores should take it upon themselves to say, hey, you're buying all this fire shit. Have you thought about fire safety? Or like, hey,
Yeah.
Yeah.
here's a pamphlet that just so you're aware when you go out there, like, be aware of it. Have you checked in on the bands? Have you checked in on this? Like, what are those like when you're buying those things?
Yeah.
And
I like
again,
that.
like
a
you
canister.
can buy
And you can
a
incentivize.
lighter, anywhere. You can
could
get a
in,
cheeseburger anywhere, but you can buy a lighter at any gas station.
You could even
And you
incentivize
can't-
it. If you want funding to go to something, hell, slap a QR code on certain products or whatever, and it's like if you complete
some survey or some training or something, it's like you get a discount or there's some incentive for like go learn a thing. And when we talked to Air Force, that whole every part could say, hey, before we let you, if it's only the permitted ones, I guess.
Yeah, sure.
But it's like they could say, hey, it's a risky area. Before you do anything, stop at
you
the
have
head,
to read
stop at the
this.
trailhead, stop at the office, and we need to tell you about this.
You can't buy certain like knives or whatever without getting somebody to unlock something. Like you shouldn't be able to buy fire starting shit without someone saying, "Hey, dude, let's be real smart out there." Like I don't know. Maybe it's probably a difficult way to think, but
and maybe, I mean, that's harder to manage, maybe, but just even increasing the visibility of that helpful information when you're obviously buying something that would or doing something that's pointing you towards
make a
I'm going to go
fire.
make a fire,
Yeah.
right?
Sure.
So
Yeah, that
there are
makes
certain
sense.
products or
and
certain areas.
if it got 1% better,
Yeah.
that would be time well invested.
Yeah, and I mean,
I agree.
Adirondacks, the Rangers were everywhere. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
He did. He told us we couldn't have fires. We knew it already.
He asked us about
He
our
did.
bear cans.
But he asked us about.
yeah.
I mean, like just that's only at campsites. You're not going to catch the guy who's just off taking a shit in the woods and starts a fire, I guess. But like,
a shit and a
What
fire.
kind of shits are you taking?
Maybe it took a while. I don't know.
Bell right there.
Explosive diarrhea.
but yeah,
Accelerant.
I like that. I just increase visibility, I guess. Is
Yeah.
just, and you
How
gotta
do you
hope,
make more of that?
right? You got to hope that people, some people are going to see it and throw it in the trash.
Yeah, and some
whatever.
people
But-
won't care, right?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I
But
know,
you're
I know how to make a
proact-
fire. I'm good.
But people are proactively trying to do good, and I think if you, that's a great place to start at least.
You know what's,
a pamphlet, a video, a lesson. I think there should be probably more commercials because I think commercials are going to put the government maybe just needs to buy a Super Bowl ad or something, like something that someone's going to see just even in the back of their mind. Even if it's something that they saw
maybe
a
I
year
should
ago.
put that out.
Like,
Maybe
oh
I
wait,
should.
Do you remember
hold
when
on a second.
this is
I should totally put that out.
a traffic equivalent to this that I just thought of? But remember when those, like on 77, local to us, all those LED signs started appearing, and they're everywhere now.
Oh, yeah.
And they usually
it'll-
have like some
it'll
like
scroll,
comical
and it's
witty
like,
line.
It's either a comical or witty line, or it's like number of motorcycle deaths
Right.
this year
Right,
or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
It's like,
Don't
and it can
text
be
and drive.
like that is
Fire ban.
that I remember
Or
that
not
stuff.
fire
Oh
ban,
yeah,
but
yeah.
It's
Well, you
there.
know what's funny
Information.
about that?
And you see it
Ohio,
all the time.
You see those, and they like have like funny quips about like
Yeah,
wearing
yeah.
a seatbelt or not driving drunk. Did you know that in the past couple months they actually have banned them being funny
What?
because it's distracting?
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
This is why we can't have nice
guess.
things.
Isn't that amazing? You
Damn
can't
it.
even make a joke
man.
about like being off your phone and not texting because that's distracting. That's
the thing that's distracting.
yeah, not
It's distracting because people are staring at their phone, not looking up. at it.
right.
Make
Oh
it make
my
it more
God.
boring, and then
Yeah,
people
not that people are watching
people will read
TikTok
it.
on their
Yeah.
phone while they're driving.
Gosh,
So
that's
insane.
ridiculous.
That's more dangerous than wildfires, honestly.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
So I think in my conclusion, what I'll say is this: I do believe that in certain places during certain time frames, it absolutely should be banned. Especially married with. We talked about this on some article issues that we episodes that we did a couple weeks ago, where we talked about certain places, especially on the West Coast, being absolutely overrun with
yeah.
people. They don't have
Right.
the infrastructure. A lot of people are ignorant on how to camp and how to
Right.
backpack. Having those people who are just getting into this, and again, education would help out a lot with that. So I'm not dismissing that at all, because that should absolutely happen. But with having so many people going into these places ignorant of how to treat the land, there are certain places and certain times where I do think there needs to be an outright ban. The finality of this article and what they're suggesting is too strong and too heavy. There are enough responsible people and enough places where you can do it safely if you're doing it the right way, where you don't need a ban, where we can still enjoy nice things, as they say. So that's kind of where I stand with that.
I'd be curious to know what your guys' opinion is on it.
Oh, I had a final thought.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, I thought we were going around the horn.
Yeah, I was
I'm
going to
sorry.
roll
All right,
into
go
it.
ahead.
So I'm going to agree with Austin. I'll go one step further though, in that my biggest disagreement with this is that I think it's danger for us to think as humans that like if someone agrees with this ban or thinks that if I don't do this thing, I'm going to make an impact. We need to stop focusing on things we shouldn't be doing or how to, more restrictions or taking away things, and use that effort and time and mental energy to say what are things we should be doing better and how do we get proactive about stuff. So the education piece is like the time I spent reading this article, and I'm not, insulting the author or anything, but that energy, I want that passion that she has for this to go into
something about it.
How do we improve electrical grids and how do we improve prevention opportunities and all that stuff?
Sure.
Because that's going to have way more of an impact on the long run.
Yeah. Than someone reading her article and saying, ban all the fires.
Then telling people not to start fires, which they're going to do.
You know what this reminds me of?
Yeah.
Okay, so like comparing like, I'm sitting here like, I'm not doing a campfire, yet this lightning strike over here is just going to cause a bunch of like acreage and
Whammo.
damage. It's kind of like, I'm glad that I rinsed out my pasta jar and recycled it while Taylor Swift is flying her jet all around the country.
Right.
I'm so glad I did that recycling for it.
Don't
It kind of reminds me of
Taylor
the same
Swift
thing
right now. Just ignore that he did that and said that.
We won't go into that.
There was a lot of talk on the trail last week about that. Just
About Taylor Swift?
a lot.
Just cover your ears.
No, it was
Fife.
10 minutes of me getting
Just cover
bashed.
your ears. Just cover your
Because
ears.
I had an opinion.
Well, I
God
can't wait
forbid.
for this episode to end so I can hear what they talk about because I'm ready to get into it.
Alex, closing notes.
I agree with Pfeiffer. Like, did you hear it? I agree with you. No, I think it's education and
Market.
put that energy towards something more impactful than just blanket saying all fires are gone. I just think there are far too many responsible people and those responsible people shouldn't be punished for the select few that don't have the education piece. So
Yeah.
if you can educate 1%, 2% of those people,
That
you've
helps.
made an impact, right? And that I think is our duty and our responsibility with the earth and like nature is to really we need to be stewards of that as an individual and as a group. And the more we can do to educate people, like that's our part of making a difference, right? When we see a fire, we put it out. We let people know that, hey, this is how you do it. Those kinds of things. So the energy can be positive.
I like that.
I love it.
I want to know what you guys think. I want to know if you agree with us. I want to know if you guys agree with the author of the article. In the Spotify end notes, we'll do a poll. Do you agree with banning fires? Yes or no? On YouTube, comment. Shoot us an email. Let us know. The email is trailtheorypod@gmail.com. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you are aware of when we release episodes. Don't forget to tell your friends, and we will see you next time.
Comment on YouTube and tell me what color my socks are.
God.
You fired.
The Trail Theory Podcast is sponsored by Audimute and Audio Technica. Music by Dan Koch.